The moment she held the USB, Seo Yeon felt the small storage device weigh 1,000 pounds. This was not just data. It was Pandora's box, capable of destroying a man's life and honor, and a colossal empire. Apparently satisfied with her answer, Taemin lightly kissed her forehead and left the meeting room. Left alone, Seo Yeon gazed out at the Seoul nightscape unfurling beyond the massive glass window. The lights emanating from countless buildings sparkled like stars in the night sky. To become one of those lights, and to lay all of it at King Taemin's feet, she had devoted everything over the past 7 years. Her youth, her passion, and even her love. She bowed deeply to Kim Sung-chul. 7 years ago, it was Kang Taemin who scouted her, then a promising management consultant, to Jin Sung Group. His ardent pursuit and confident promises about their future had swayed Seo Yeon's heart. She loved him, believing his success was her success. Their relationship was an open secret in the corporate world. Everyone assumed Han Seo Yeon would be the mistress of Jin Sung Group, and she herself had never once doubted that fact. I promise you, your sacrifice will not be in vain. I will see this through to the end. The chairman's mansion, where the party was held, was nestled in a quiet area on the outskirts of Seoul. Hundreds of lights illuminated the garden, and classical melodies softly diffused into the air. Amidst the opulent scene, as if all the political and business dignitaries of Korea had gathered, Han Seo Yeon stood, elegantly smiling, her arm linked through Kang Tae-min's. She wore a black silk dress, and even without a single dazzling accessory, her intellectual aura and refined beauty shone more brightly than any other woman present. On the drive back to Seoul, Seo Yeon plugged the USB into her laptop. Endless numbers and names unfolded on the screen. She held her breath. This was a record of a colossal crime that exceeded her imagination. As expected, the picture is complete with head Han beside Taemin. You two truly look good together. When will we get to eat the wedding noodles? Kang Taemin, you are finished. Everything you built with your father's money, the foundation of all the power you took for granted, is now in my hands. You have no escape route left. Compliments and envious glances echoed around her. Seo Yeon responded with an accustomed smile, raising her glass, but her gaze drifted towards Chairman Kang, the host of the party, and a group of people standing beside him. They were central figures in Korean politics. At the heart of that group was Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk, a strong presidential candidate. A chillingly cold smile bloomed on her lips. It was time to detonate the second bomb. This explosion would completely shake the very foundations of the Jin Sung Group fortress. When Kang Taemin briefly stepped away to speak with another CEO, Seo Yeon, holding a champagne flute, headed for the terrace. She desired the cool night air. As she leaned against a dark corner of the terrace, she inadvertently overheard the voices of women from inside. The Pandora's box Han Seo Yeon now possessed quietly began to exert its power. She did not immediately detonate the slush fund files provided by Section Chief Kim Sung-chul. That was to be the final blow, the last dagger to pierce the enemy's heart. Before that, she needed to sufficiently isolate and weaken the enemy. Like a hunter setting traps and exhausting a giant beast before catching it, she slowly and surely tightened her grip on Kang Taemin's lifeline. Did you see Assemblyman Oh's daughter, Oh Soo-jin? She's especially radiant tonight. Of course. Didn't you see the ring on her finger? They say she's engaged to Jin Sung Group's vice president Kang Tae-min. The diamond was enormous. Really, didn't she and head Han date for a long time? I guess love is no match for an arranged marriage. If Jin Sung Group becomes in-laws with Assemblyman Oh's family, they'll truly soar. The failure of the European project was merely the beginning. The aftermath was far more severe than Kang Tae-min had anticipated. Chairman Kang Man-cheol slapped his son across the face, receiving a physical blow from his father for the first time. Kang Tae-min trembled with humiliation and rage, yet dared not rebel. Suddenly, Seo Yeon's mind went blank. The champagne glass in her hand trembled precariously. Engaged, Kang Tae-min. To another woman, she doubted her own ears. She desperately tried to convince herself it was absurd gossip, a story fabricated by jealous women. Fool! Do you even realize what a crisis you've plunged the group into? You've brought it to this state just because that one girl, Han Seo Yeon, isn't here. Her trembling steps carried her back into the party hall, and her eyes, as if by a cruel twist of fate, found Oh Soo-jin, dressed in a white off-the-shoulder gown. She was surrounded by a group of people, smiling brightly. And each time she smiled, the colossal diamond ring glittering on her left ring finger stabbed painfully at Seo-yeon's eyes. Chairman Kang's thunderous scolding was more than mere reprimand. It was a fundamental declaration of no confidence in his abilities as an heir. Within the group, Kang Taemin's position rapidly began to waver. Executives who had followed him subtly distanced themselves, and skeptical voices about his management capabilities openly erupted during board meetings. Seo-yeon froze on the spot. She felt her heart chill like a block of ice. 7 years. Every moment they had laughed and cried together flashed through her mind like a panorama. Her own image, staying up all night to devise strategies for his success. Her own image, feeling as if she owned the world from a single word of his praise. Everything was being denied in an instant. The biggest change occurred with his fiancée, Oh Soo-jin, and her family. Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk, a prominent politician, was a seasoned strategist. He had tied his daughter to Kang Tae-min to use Jin-sung Group's formidable financial power as his political stepping stone, but now he sensed cracks appearing in that foundation. Jin-sung Group's plummeting stock prices and tarnished image offered him no benefit. She slowly approached Kang Tae-min. He was still laughing and conversing with others. Seeing Seo-yeon approach, he naturally wrapped his arm around her waist and asked, "Tae-min, you seem to be having a tough time these days. My father is very worried too. Is something wrong? You don't look well." Oh Soo-jin's voice was still gentle, but beneath it lay a cold calculation different from before. She no longer blindly believed in Kang Tae-min's success. She was like a clever rat preparing to be the first to jump from a sinking ship. Kang Tae-min sensed her change but desperately tried to ignore his unease. He believed he could reverse all of it, that everything would return to its place once he reclaimed what he had lost to Han Seo-yeon. Seo-yeon merely looked up at him. His face bore his usual gentle smile. But at this moment, that smile felt more repulsive and hypocritical than any other expression. Her gaze shifted to Oh Soo-jin. She didn't miss the subtle flicker in Kang Tae-min's eyes. A cornered rat will bite a cat. An enraged Kang Tae-min resolved to seek revenge. But his revenge was not as meticulous and strategic as Han Seo-yeon's. It was a low and despicable method, born solely of anger and hatred. Let me introduce you. This is Ms. Oh Soo-jin, Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk's daughter. Dig into Dae-young Group anything. I don't care. Find even a speck of dust, tax evasion, corruption, owner-family scandals. Anything goes. Leak it to the media and bury that old Fox Park Jinwoo in society. Kang Tae-min introduced her casually. Oh Soo-jin elegantly nodded her head towards Seo-yeon, smiling. That smile held the relaxed air of a victor and a hint of secret mockery. He mobilized the group's audit and public relations teams to spread malicious propaganda against Dae-young Group. Simultaneously, he hired a corporate raider notorious for dirty dealings in the industry, showing signs of attempting to artificially manipulate Dae-young Group's stock price and instigate a hostile M&A. "I've heard so much about you, head Han Seo-yeon. Jin-sung's brain, they say." Tae-min-si couldn't stop praising you. But he didn't know that every single one of his moves was transparently visible within the palm of Han Seo-yeon's hand. Seo-yeon knew Kang Tae-min's character all too well. She had predicted how he would retaliate when cornered, what despicable tactics he would employ. She had already established a risk management team within the Future Strategy Office and prepared countermeasures for every scenario of Jin-sung's attack. Tae-min-si! That affectionate honorific pierced Seo-yeon's heart like a dagger. Seo-yeon bit her lip. Tears threatened to spill, but she refused to show any weakness before them. She slowly raised her head, looking from Oh Soo-jin to Kang Tae-min. And then she offered a faint, yet colder than ever, smile. As soon as Jin-sung's Dae-young Group tax evasion allegation article appeared online, Dae-young's legal team, as if waiting, immediately rebutted it head-on, releasing years of transparent accounting records and even commendation records from the National Tax Service. Instead, Jin-sung was counterattacked for spreading false information and faced a barrage of public criticism. "You flatter me. I was merely doing my job." The attempt at stock manipulation using corporate raiders ended in even more disastrous failure. Seo-yeon had already traced their financial flow and anonymously reported it to the Financial Supervisory Service. When the FSS's surprise investigation began, the manipulated forces were dismantled before they could even properly react, and the incident concluded, leaving only strong suspicion that Jinsung Group was behind it. Her voice was surprisingly composed. There was no anger, no sorrow, no despair. Only a bone-chilling coldness remained. She gently detached Kang Taemin's arm and took a step back. All of Kang Taemin's attempts crumbled powerlessly like eggs hitting a massive wall. He felt like he was going insane. It was as if he was fighting an invisible ghost. All his plans and intentions were being perfectly read by his opponent. "Please excuse me for a moment. I received an urgent call." "There's a spy. There must be a rat within us, leaking information to Dae-young." With those words, she turned away, without a single moment of hesitation, without a single glance back. Her straight back looked as lonely as a defeated general leaving the battlefield. But in her steps was a resolution stronger than any sorrow. Exiting the mansion and getting into her car, Seo-yeon finally gasped for the breath she had been holding. Her heart pounded frantically, but no tears came. Her body trembled with betrayal, but her mind began to move more coldly and clearly than ever before. His suspicion turned inwards. He began illegally surveilling the call records and emails of key executives, starting with his own secretarial staff. Bugging devices were installed in offices, and people became suspicious of each other, falling silent. A trust-broken organization could no longer move forward. The colossal fortress that was Jinsung Group was now crumbling from within. Not from external attacks, but from internal distrust and fear. She had loved Kang Taemin. No, she had believed she loved him. But over the past 7 years, what she had built was nothing more than a mirage named love. He had loved her ability. He had loved the success she brought. But he had never loved Han Seo-yeon the person. She had merely been the most useful tool for his success. And now, with the appearance of a larger, more powerful tool, Oh Soo-jin, his arranged marriage partner, he was unhesitatingly discarding the old one. Han Seo-yeon received reports of all this in her office. She coldly watched Kang Taemin wear himself out and collapse. Seo-yeon gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white. "Yes, Kang Taemin, you didn't abandon me. You threw away your most powerful weapon with your own hands." As expected, Vice President Kang Taemin doesn't know how to play chess. He only charges after the pieces right in front of him. He lacks the ability to read the entire board. Her eyes gleamed with a chilling light. The plans for Jinsung Group's future, for Kang Taemin's success, which had once filled her mind, shattered into fragments. In their place, a new picture began to form. It was the prelude to a desperate drama of revenge. She prepared to deliver the final decisive blow. She decided to exploit Kang Taemin's paranoid suspicion. She gave a special assignment to an employee of the Future Strategy Office. This employee had previously worked at Jinsung Group but had left in protest of Kang Taemin's autocratic management style. She would destroy him. Everything he cherished, his status, his wealth, his honor, and even the new future he had chosen by abandoning her. Everything she had helped him build, she would now dismantle with her own hands. A few days later, the employee met with a former Jinsung colleague in a private setting. And there, as if by accident, he left behind a USB containing confidential documents related to Dae-young Group's new business. Of course, the contents of that USB were all fake information created by Seo-yeon. It was a plausible business plan for a massive nickel mine development project in Southeast Asia. A cold fury completely consumed her heart. There was no room for sorrow to seep in. The woman named Han Seo-yeon had just died here. And now, a new her was born. Kang Taemin. The Han Seo-yeon you knew is no more. From now on, you will bitterly regret how terrible your mistake was. The USB, as expected, fell into Kang Taemin's hands. Obsessed with rooting out an internal spy, he was convinced this was crucial evidence. At the same time, he was excited by the document's contents. He saw it as a tremendous opportunity to recover from the European project lost to Dae-young Group and achieve a comeback in one fell swoop. She started the engine. Its roar broke the night's silence, sharp and piercing. It was the sound announcing the end of an era and the overture to a colossal war about to begin. Despite the board's opposition, he mobilized vast funds to jump into the Southeast Asian mine development project. The caution of some executives, who warned that he might be outmaneuvered by Han Seo-yeon again, fell on deaf ears. He blindly believed the confidential information he had acquired and judged it to be the perfect opportunity to catch Han Seo-yeon off guard. The car that carried Han Seo-yeon away from the party did not head for the luxurious penthouse in Gangnam she shared with Kang Taemin. Instead, It went to a small office tel overlooking the Han River, a space that was exclusively her own. Even during their 7-year relationship, she had maintained this place. Kang Tae-min often complained about why she needed a separate home, but to Seo-yeon, it was always a last refuge. A fortress where she could return when everything collapsed, where she could focus solely on herself. Perhaps she had instinctively foreseen that a day like this might come. It was a deadly trap set by Han Seo-yeon. The mine he purchased was a long-abandoned, depleted mine, and the local partner he contracted with was a phantom company that existed only on paper. The hundreds of billions of won he invested vanished into thin air. Opening the front door, the apartment reflected her personality, minimalist and neat, without a single unnecessary decoration. She kicked off her high heels and unzipped her dress. The expensive silk gown slipped to the floor, but she didn't look back. Heading straight to the shower, she let the cold water cascade over her body. She hoped the icy stream, not hot tears, would cool her body, which burned with betrayal. But it was no use. The anger had seeped into her very bones, dominating every cell. When the fraud was exposed, Jinsung Group suffered irreparable damage. Stock prices became worthless, and investors filed lawsuits. Chairman Kang Man-cheol collapsed from shock and was hospitalized. All the walls of the colossal fortress that was Jinsung Group were now collapsing with a deafening roar. After her shower, she wrapped herself in a large towel and headed to her study. Walls lined with bookshelves, and a large desk in the center. This was where many of Jinsung Group's legends had been born. She turned on her computer, and from that moment, she began to move like a precise machine. Kang Tae-min sat alone in his office. His eyes were empty. He had lost everything: money, honor, his father's trust, and even his fiancée. Oh Soo-jin had coldly informed him of their breakup. Her first task was to meticulously erase Han Seo-yeon, the individual from Kang Tae-min's life. She systematically deleted the records of their past 7 years' photos they had taken together. Messages exchanged, traces left on social media. Data containing countless memories vanished one by one under her fingertips. Her expression held no lingering attachment or sorrow. Like a restructuring expert disposing of bad assets, she coldly and swiftly excised her past. I think this is as far as we go. I can't put my family at risk any further. Next was to erase physical traces. From deep within her closet, she pulled out a large travel bag. Into it, she began to place everything Kang Tae-min had given her: luxury bags, jewelry, clothes, even small souvenirs he had carelessly handed her. Everything he had given her was not a token of love, but a shackle to quantify her worth and confirm his ownership. She swept everything into the bag and sealed it. He had nothing left now. Only then did he realize how foolish he had been, what Han Seo-yeon had truly been to him. She was not merely a lover or a subordinate. She was the pillar supporting his empire, the throne sustaining his crown. He had destroyed all of it with his own hands. As the night deepened, her work continued. This time, it was to organize her most powerful weapon and asset: data. She accessed Jinsung Group's internal servers, all the strategic reports, market analysis data, M&A plans, and even competitor confidential files she had created over the past 7 years. She began backing up these vast archives to several external hard drives. It wasn't simple copying. She understood every path and backdoor of the system she had built, and she used an encryption algorithm that only she could decipher. His phone rang. The caller was Han Seo-yeon. He answered with trembling hands. Through the receiver, her icy-cold voice spoke. This was not merely data. This was Jinsung Group's heart and brain. Kang Tae-min had mistakenly believed he owned that brain, but in reality, it had merely been leased to the individual named Han Seo-yeon. And now, the lease period was over. Do you regret it now, Mr. Kang Tae-min? By the time dawn broke, all her work was finished. Her laptop screen displayed a cleanly formatted drive window. She had erased every trace of herself from Kang Tae-min's life and from Jinsung Group's system. Now, she was a ghost. Kang Tae-min dropped his phone. Han Seo-yeon's voice echoed in his ears like a devil's whisper. Did he regret it? That question shattered his remaining sanity. He was a king left alone in the ruins of a fallen castle. A foolish king who realized what he had destroyed only after losing everything. He wept uncontrollably like a child in the empty office. But there was no one to hear his cries. In the throbbing heart of Seoul, within the 40th floor strategy and planning office of Jinsung Group's towering headquarters. The air was, as always, thick with taut tension and icy logic. At its epicenter was Han Seo-yeon. Her sharp gaze, magnified by delicate gold-rimmed glasses, seemed to pierce through dozens of data points. The fate of projects worth hundreds of billions of won hung on each presentation slide that moved beneath her fingertips. Han Seo-yeon hung up the phone and looked out the window. She felt a faint thrill from Kang Tae-min's broken voice, but her heart remained as cold as ice. Pity was a luxury. The war was not yet over. She wanted not the enemy's surrender, but complete annihilation. Just then, her phone rang. The name on the screen was Kang Tae-min. She hesitated for a moment, then answered. On her desk lay the USB that Section Chief Kim Sung-chul had risked his life to protect. The Southeast Asian abandoned mine fraud, which had plunged Jinsung Group into financial ruin, was merely a preparatory step for using this ultimate weapon. Jinsung Group was now extremely vulnerable to external attacks. Its defenses were shattered, and the soldiers within its walls were in chaos. Now was the perfect time to plunge the final dagger into the enemy's heart. Seo-yeon, where are you? I woke up and you weren't here. It startled me. You must have been tired from the party yesterday. Team leaders, the meeting will begin now. His voice was gentle, as if he knew nothing. Seo-yeon scoffed inwardly at his hypocrisy. The core members of the Future Strategy Office gathered in the conference room. Their faces were etched with excitement for victory, yet also a taut tension. Han Seo-yeon projected the files from the USB onto the screen. Endless numbers, cryptic account numbers, and familiar names. I'm at my place. Really, did you send this morning's meeting materials by email? I can't find them. The materials should be on your desk, Vice President. This is the true heart of Jinsung Group. It's a record of how they have manipulated South Korea for the past decade. Her voice was formal and cold, sensing a different atmosphere than usual. A hint of bewilderment crept into Kang Tae-min's voice. She assigned her team the task of analyzing the files, tracing the flow of funds, and identifying their ultimate destinations. This was not merely an accounting ledger analysis. It was the task of completing the map of a colossal crime. Is something wrong? Why does your voice sound like that? Still tired. No, I'll hang up now. Not a single mistake is permissible. All data must be cross-verified, and the true identities of all shell companies used for money laundering must be uncovered. And most importantly, all of this work must proceed in utmost secrecy. If even a single piece of information leaks to the outside, we will all be in danger. She hung up without waiting for his reply. Turning off her phone, she changed clothes to handle her last remaining task. She chose a black suit, as if going to a funeral. Perhaps today truly was someone's funeral, the old Han Seo-yeon, or the future of Jinsung Group. Her warning stiffened the expressions of the team members. They instinctively realized that what they were touching was not just corporate corruption, but a massive power-related scandal that could shake South Korea. The place she arrived at was Jinsung Group headquarters. But she headed not for the 40th floor, where her office was, but for the chairman's office on the top floor. Despite the secretary's attempts to stop her, she knocked on the chairman's door with a determined expression. From that day on, the Future Strategy Office became a fortress, completely cut off from the outside world. Team members worked for days and nights without going home, fitting tens of thousands of data points together like puzzle pieces. Seo-yeon snatched short naps on a field bed, directing them. Her mind was clearer than ever. Come in. And finally, they found the last piece of the colossal puzzle. With a heavy voice, the door opened. Chairman Kang Man-cheol, the founder and absolute power of Jinsung Group, sat on the sofa, looking at her. His eyes were as sharp as ever, but his gaze towards Seo-yeon held a rare sense of trust. He valued Han Seo-yeon's abilities more highly than his son, Kang Tae-min. We found it. Head. Head, Han. What is it? You're not one to seek me out without formality. I apologize, Chairman, but I have something I must tell you directly. The data analysis team leader exclaimed excitedly. He projected two fund flow diagrams side by side on the screen. One showed Jinsung Group's slush fund being laundered through multiple shell companies, and the other showed money being deposited into the donation accounts of Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk, a prominent presidential candidate. And these two flow diagrams, at their final stage, coincided with chilling accuracy. Seo-yeon took a moment to compose herself, then pulled a white envelope from her embrace and placed it on the table. The three characters resignation letter were clearly visible on the envelope. The largest organizations that sponsored Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk's election campaign, they were all shell companies created by Jin Sung for money laundering. Over the past 5 years, at least 50 billion won in dark money flowed to Assemblyman Oh. Chairman Kang's eyebrows twitched. He looked at the resignation letter and Seo Yeon's face alternately, an expression of disbelief on his features. A heavy silence fell over the conference room. This was not just a bribe. It was an act of national constitutional disorder, where a chaebol attempted to create a president with vast illegal funds, shaking the very foundations of democracy. Kang Taemin and Oh Soo-jin's engagement had been the final flourish, intended to complete this sordid deal. Oh, what is this? As you see, I intend to step down from my position as head of strategy and planning at Jinsung Group today. What's the reason has Taemin made another mistake? Is the evidence solid? Chairman Park Jin-woo asked with a trembling voice. He was observing the meeting via video call. Yes, Chairman. We have secured bank transfer records, lists of nominee accounts, and the identities of the fund couriers. It is perfect evidence that no one can deny. Chairman Kang surmised that the problem lay with his son. He knew his son's arrogant and self-centered nature well. At Seo Yeon's reply, Chairman Park let out a deep sigh. He had lived his entire life in the business world, but he had never encountered a scandal of this magnitude. No, it has nothing to do with the vice president. It's purely for personal reasons. Personal reasons, head Han. You are Jin Sung's future. The reason I decided to hand over the group to Taemin was my trust that you would assist him. But now you say you're leaving. This is a betrayal of me. What do you plan to do now? Will you hand this over to the prosecution? No. Chairman Kang's voice rose. He was genuinely angry. But Seo Yeon didn't waver in the slightest. Seo Yeon shook her head decisively. For the past 7 years, I have devoted everything to Jinsung Group. I believe I have fully repaid the kindness I received. So, please, respect my decision. We cannot know how deeply Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk and Jinsung's connections run within the prosecution. The moment we hand over these materials, they might conceal evidence, delay the investigation, or even launch a counterattack against us for illegal acquisition of internal data. It would be as foolish as walking into a beast's den unarmed. Then what is the alternative? Public opinion? Seo Yeon's eyes shone coldly. We must make the people the judges of this incident. We must ignite a massive wave of public opinion that no power can stop, forcing the prosecution to launch an investigation. Her resolute attitude left Chairman Kang speechless. He read a deep despair in her eyes that no persuasion would penetrate. He sighed heavily and picked up the resignation letter. Her plan was daring and dangerous. She thought of Lee Jin-woo, the most trusted investigative journalist in South Korea. He was a living legend who had uncovered countless power-related corruption cases without succumbing to external pressure. He would be able to open this Pandora's box most effectively. Very well. If you are so determined, I can no longer hold you back. But know this, Jinsung's doors will always be open to you. She instructed her team to organize all the evidence into a single, perfect report, easily understandable to the general public. Fund flow diagrams, relationship charts of involved individuals, even evidence photos, like a crime movie screenplay. Seo Yeon silently bowed her head in a final farewell and exited the chairman's office. As soon as she left, Chairman Kang picked up the intercom. His voice was laced with fury. A few days later, Seo Yeon met journalist Lee Jin-woo on a secluded park bench on a dark night. Journalist Lee had arrived at the meeting place with mixed feelings, having received a call from an anonymous tipster about information that would shake South Korea. Vice President Kang Taemin, come to my office immediately. Are you the tipster? Please identify yourself first. Lee Jin-woo remained wary. My identity is not important. What's important is this material I've brought. The news of Han Seo Yeon's resignation spread like wildfire throughout the company. Jinsung Group was, quite literally, turned upside down. Everyone was plunged into shock and confusion. Her presence was more than just a department head. She was the lighthouse that determined the group's direction, the troubleshooter who resolved crises. A Jinsung Group without her was unimaginable. Seo Yeon handed him a thick envelope of documents. When he heard the news, Kang Taemin initially didn't believe it. He dismissed it as a small tantrum, a childish act to gain his attention. But after being summoned and severely reprimanded by his father, Chairman Kang, He finally realized the gravity of the situation. This contains all the evidence of Jinsun Group and Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk's sordid dealings. Please report it on your honor as a journalist. However, there's a condition. A condition. Please keep the source of this information confidential until the very end, and until the first article is published, do not contact me in any way. I must remain a ghost. He frantically called her, but only heard the voice message that her phone was off. He immediately rushed to her office, tell Sun, but the tightly closed door remained shut. Fury surged to his head. He could not tolerate the fact that someone like Han Seo-yeon dared to humiliate him in this manner. Lee Jin-woo opened the envelope and quickly scanned its contents. His eyes widened. In decades of journalism, he had broken numerous exclusive stories, but a scandal of this scale was unprecedented. His heart began to pound violently. This was not just an exclusive. It was a monumental event that could change history. Inside his car, he slammed his fist on the steering wheel, growling, "Han Seo-yeon! How dare you? What kind of childish game is this? Stop it right now and come back. Come back and kneel before me. Beg for forgiveness." Understood. I won't ask who you are. But if this information is true, I will stake everything I have to bring this truth to the world. He was convinced she would soon return. He believed, without a shadow of a doubt, that she was nothing without him. A worthless existence outside the fence of Jinsun Group. He thought her resignation was a pressure tactic to rush their marriage. Lee Jin-woo promised with a resolute expression. Seo-yeon nodded silently and disappeared into the darkness. But he didn't know. This was merely the beginning of the game. And in this game, he had already discarded his most important card with his own hands. Han Seo-yeon's silence was the calm before the storm, and her departure was a declaration of war, signaling the start of a colossal conflict. Kang Taemin's arrogance would soon become the fatal weakness that would lead him to ruin. After Han Seo-yeon left, Jinsun Group was like a colossal cruise ship adrift on a vast ocean. Having lost its helmsman, outwardly, it remained magnificent and grand. But internally, it was slowly being eroded by an unseen chaos. The void she left behind was far larger and deeper than anyone imagined. She was not merely the head of strategy and planning, she was the blood flowing through every vein of the group, the central nervous system that kept its complex systems moving organically. Now the die was cast. All she could do was done. She had lit the fuse of a colossal bomb and became a bystander watching the explosion from afar. For the first few days, Kang Taemin largely dismissed her absence. He arrogantly assumed she would soon realize what a foolish choice she had made, and within a few days, she would return, tail between her legs, begging for forgiveness. He boasted loudly at an executive meeting. Returning to her office, she felt a profound sense of exhaustion for the first time. For the past few months, she had steeled herself like iron for the singular goal of revenge. But now, thinking that everything was nearing its end, the taut string of tension seemed to snap. Do you mean to tell me the group will falter just because one Han Seo-yeon is gone? What she did, each department can handle on its own. How long will we maintain an inefficient system that relies on one person? This is an opportunity to reorganize the structure and build a stronger system. She looked down at her hands that once held Kang Taemin's, dreaming of a future. Now, those hands, though not stained with blood, had brought a man's life and a colossal empire to ruin. There were no regrets. Yet, a chilling ache lingered in a corner of her heart, but his brave words echoed hollowly before even a day passed. The European Renewable Energy Project immediately began to falter. The report Seo-yeon left behind was perfect, but it was only the final product. The subtle nuances hidden between the lines of the hundreds of pages, the unofficial rapport with local partners, the animalistic intuition regarding competitors' movements, these were areas that couldn't be recorded as data. They existed only in Han Seo-yeon's mind. When all this is over, what will I become? The team newly assigned to the project floundered. They couldn't even walk properly on the path Seo-yeon had laid out. Kang Taemin yelled in frustration and threw documents. But the situation did not improve. He then realized the steering wheel of this colossal ship, which he thought he was driving, had been in Han Seo-yeon's hands from the beginning. He had merely been a captain following the course she had set. For the first time, she contemplated herself after revenge, but nothing came to mind. Her future was enveloped in a gray mist. Jinsun Group's turmoil quickly spread through the business world. In particular, Park Jin-woo, chairman of Dae-Young Group, Jin Sung's most formidable rival, sharply observed the situation. Chairman Park was a self-made, legendary figure, a seasoned strategist who had survived his entire life in the battlefield of business. In his eyes, Jin Sung Group's success over the past few years had been abnormally perfect, and he had long since discerned that the name Han Seo-yeon was at its core. Exactly 1 week after journalist Lee Jin-woo received the materials from Han Seo-yeon, South Korea was engulfed in a massive storm. The epicenter of the storm was an article posted on the website of a small independent media outlet operated by journalist Lee Jin-woo, titled Exclusive Jin Sung Group, suspected of providing over 50 billion won in illegal political funds to prominent presidential candidates. He had tasted the bitter flavor of defeat against her many times. In M&A deals where Dae-young seemed to have the advantage, he was outmaneuvered at the last minute and forced to retreat. New ambitious ventures he prepared were preempted by Jin Sung seizing the market first. Behind all those strategies was always Han Seo-yeon's sparkling insight and daring resolve. He feared her as an enemy, and at the same time, coveted her as a manager. The first article was like a small spark igniting a bomb. It presented specific amounts detailing how Jin Sung Group's slush fund flowed to Assemblyman Oh Young-guk's side through shell companies. But it did not disclose the crucial evidence of bank account details. This was journalist Lee Jin-woo's shrewd strategy, instead of showing all his cards at once. He slowly escalated pressure by testing the opponent's reactions. Head Han Seo-yeon has left Jin Sung. As expected, Jin Sung Group and Assemblyman Oh Young-guk's side immediately and fiercely retaliated, calling it malicious false information. Jin Sung Group announced through its legal team that it would sue the media outlet and journalist Lee Jin-woo for defamation, and Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk held an emergency press conference, even shedding tears to plead his innocence. Upon receiving the report from his secretary, Chairman Park Jin-woo's eyes lit up. He suddenly rose from where he had been deeply reclined on the sofa. His old heart, for the first time in a long while, beat hotly like it did in his youth. This is a despicable smear campaign to end my political career. I have not received a single one of illicit money. My relationship with Jin Sung Group is merely that of ordinary acquaintances. There have been no dark dealings whatsoever. Is the information reliable? Yes, Chairman. She was officially processed for resignation this morning. The business tabloids are citing a conflict with Vice President Kang Tae-min as the most likely reason. Their vehement denials, however, only fueled public suspicion. People began to whisper, "Where there's smoke, there's fire." While major media outlets initially seemed cautious about reporting against a giant corporation and a powerful politician, the situation did a complete 180 when journalist Lee Jin-woo published a follow-up article the next morning. Chairman Park let out a short scoff. A conflict? Huh. Kang Man-chol's arrogant son has kicked his own fortune away. The second article disclosed the certificate of incorporation for one of the shell companies used for money laundering and the fact that the company's representative was Chairman Kang Man-chol's brother-in-law. It also included partial details of a nominee account into which Jin Sung's slush funds had flowed. With sensitive information mosaicked, he decided there was no longer any need for hesitation. This was an opportunity heaven sent. To catch a tiger, one must enter its den. But now the tiger had walked out of the den on its own accord. This was no longer a mere suspicion. As concrete evidence gradually emerged, other media outlets could no longer remain silent. They began to sensationalize the story. Broadcasting stations covered the incident as the top story on their evening main news, and newspapers dedicated their entire front pages to articles about the sordid connection between Jin Sung and Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk. Find a way to contact head Han Seo-yeon. By any means necessary. No, I will go myself. Find out the address of the office she lives in. I will visit her myself. South Korea began to seethe. Real-time search rankings on internet portals were dominated all day by terms like Jin Sung Group's slush fund and Oh Young-guk gate. People were enraged. The sense of betrayal over corporate immorality and political hypocrisy burned uncontrollably. Civil society organizations announced candlelight vigils demanding a thorough investigation, and a petition on the Blue House National Petition Board, calling for Assemblyman Oh Young-guk's resignation and a thorough investigation into Jin Sung Group, garnered 500,000 consents in just 1 day. Chairman Park's decision was swift. That afternoon, A top-of-the-line sedan quietly glided into the underground parking lot of Han Seo-yeon's office tel. Chairman Park Jin-woo dismissed his escort and personally exited the car. Pressing the intercom button, Han Seo-yeon quietly watched all of this from her office tel. She kept the TV on, analyzing the articles and public reactions that were updated in real time on her laptop screen. Everything was unfolding according to her plan. The small flutter of a butterfly's wings she had caused had now become a colossal typhoon threatening to swallow everything. "Who is it?" A call came from Chairman Park Jin-woo. His voice was trembling with excitement. The voice from beyond the intercom was, as expected, calm and steady. "It's Park Jin-woo of Daeyoung Group. I've come to speak with head Han Seo-yeon for a moment." A brief silence followed. Chairman Park swallowed, thinking she might refuse. But soon, with the short reply of, "Please come up," the main door opened. Her voice remained calm. She could not relax her vigilance until this massive wave of public opinion brought down the last wall. The prosecution. Seo-yeon's home was as neat and unadorned as the rumors about her. She was dressed in comfortable loungewear, yet she greeted Chairman Park with an air of dignity and composure that surpassed any formal suit. Cornered, Assemblymen Oh Young-guk and Jin-sung Group launched their final desperate acts. They mobilized all their power and networks to try and suppress the situation. They pressured high-ranking media executives to downplay or whitewash articles and move their connections within the prosecution to obstruct the investigation. "To what do I owe the honor of such a distinguished guest visiting my humble abode?" But the typhoon had already left their hands. A few conservative media outlets cautiously expressed unconfirmed suspicions, but they were powerless against the raging tide of public sentiment. Instead, they faced accusations of being Jin-sung's dogs. Her tone was polite, but within it lay a sharp keenness that seemed to penetrate the other's intentions. Chairman Park sat on the sofa and got straight to the point. Journalist Lee Jin-woo did not stop. Every day, he released more powerful evidence, tightening the noose around Jin-sung and Assemblyman Oh. An audio file of an interview with a slush fund courier was released. And it was even revealed that Kang Tae-min and Oh Soo-jin's engagement was not simply love, but a contract for a sordid deal between the two families. "I won't beat around the bush. I needn't tell you how highly I value your abilities. Head Han, come to Daeyoung." When public opinion crossed the critical threshold, the prosecution finally moved. The prosecutor general, judging that they could no longer resist, personally announced a public statement, declaring the formation of a special investigation team for the Jin-sung Oh Jung-guk gate and promising an impartial investigation. It was less an offer of recruitment than a declaration. He surmised that money or fame would not be what she sought. That evening, special investigation prosecutors from the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office launched a massive raid on Jin-sung Group headquarters and Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk's home and office. The scene of prosecutors carrying blue confiscation boxes was broadcast live on TV. It was the moment the heart of a giant empire, which had once dominated the Korean economy, was powerlessly laid bare before the power of the state. "I will give you 3 times the compensation you received at Jin-sung. Your title will be vice president. You will have the authority to oversee all of the group's strategies." Chairman Kang Man-chol, who was hospitalized, watched the scene on TV and again lost consciousness from the shock. Kang Tae-min, drunk in his penthouse, watched the screen with empty eyes. He could do nothing now. Resistance, anger, even despair were meaningless. He was merely a small dinghy being swept away by a colossal wave. The position of vice president at Daeyoung Group ranked among the top 10 in the business world. It was an unprecedented offer that anyone else would have gratefully accepted as a family honor. But Seo-yeon remained unmoved. She quietly picked up her teacup and took a sip. Then, she slowly spoke. Everything was according to Han Seo-yeon's plan. She had precisely understood the nature of power. She had not made the prosecution move on its own, but had used the power of the people to make it impossible for them not to move. "Why should I accept your offer? Chairman, I need a break right now." "A break? Can someone like Head Han truly be satisfied with just a break? There is still an unextinguished fire in your eyes. Is that fire vengeance?" A few days later, summons from the prosecution began. Jin-sung Group's financial executives were successively summoned and investigated. And finally, a summons order was issued for Kang Tae-min. Chairman Park's seasoned eyes accurately read the burning fury hidden behind her cold expression. Seo-yeon stared at him for a moment. This old executive was far more insightful than she had imagined. She decided to drop her mask. On the day he stood at the prosecution's photo line, hundreds of reporters surrounded him. His appearance, once the most glamorous man in Korea, was tragically shabby. His face was gaunt after days, his hair disheveled, his eyes empty, filled with terror and despair. I have conditions. Tell me. Salary or title are not important. What I want is full authority. I want an independent organization directly under the chairman, free from interference from any other department. Let's call it the Future Strategy Office. Continue. All personnel decisions for that organization will be made by me personally. The budget must also be unrestricted. And most importantly, the ultimate goal of every project I pursue is solely one to bring down Ginseng Group. Chairman, you must fully trust and support me in all outcomes that arise during this process. Do you admit to the charges of creating a slush fund? Is it true that you provided illegal political funds to Assemblyman Oh Jung-guk? Do you have anything to say to the public? There was not an iota of hesitation in her words. This was not mere revenge. It was a declaration of war. She was openly expressing her intention to use Dae-young Group as her most powerful weapon for vengeance. Questions poured down like rain, but he could not answer. He lowered his head and headed for the interrogation room, showered by countless camera flashes. As he lowered his head, a familiar silhouette caught his eye. Beyond the crowd of reporters, a woman wearing a black hat pulled low. It was Han Seo-yeon. Chairman Park closed his eyes for a moment. Her proposal exceeded his expectations. This was not merely a matter of recruiting one capable talent. It implied an all-out war with Ginseng Group. If they won, Dae-young could reshape the business landscape. But if they lost, the entire group could falter. A risky gamble. She had come to witness the final scene of her revenge being completed. Their eyes met briefly in the air. Kang Taemin's eyes held pleading and resentment, and belated regret. But Han Seo-yeon's eyes contained no emotion. Only icy coldness flowed. But he looked into her eyes. There was a fierce conviction of victory in them. He decided to trust his own instinct, honed over a lifetime as a strategist. She quietly turned and disappeared into the crowd. Now, everything was over. Her war was over. Excellent. I accept all your conditions. As of today, Han Seo-yeon, you are the head of Dae-young Group's Future Strategy Office. I will be your sword, so wield it freely. If you can bring down the colossal fortress that is Ginseng, I am prepared to pay any price. Kang Taemin was arrested. As a key suspect in the massive scandal that rocked South Korea, he was confined to a cold, solitary cell in the detention center. The man who had once been so arrogant, as if he owned the world, was now reduced to a pathetic criminal in a prisoner's uniform. His empire had crumbled, and his world had ended. Their hands met in midair. It was not merely a handshake, it was a blood oath made by two strategists, signaling the beginning of a colossal war that would shake the entire Korean business world. But the story wasn't over yet. His defense team poured vast sums of money into desperate efforts to get him out of the detention center. And considering that Chairman Kang Man-cheol, who knew all the truth of the incident, was unconscious. And Kang Taemin denied most of the charges, claiming he only followed his father's instructions. He was unusually released from the detention warrant review and was to stand trial without detention. The next day, Han Seo-yeon stood in her newly appointed office on the 45th floor of Dae-young Group headquarters. Beyond her office window, Ginseng Group's headquarters building on the other side of the river was directly visible, like a colossal tombstone. The first place he went after regaining his freedom was Han Seo-yeon's office tel. He had thought her last fortress was undiscoverable, but he managed to find it by mobilizing all his remaining connections and means. He instinctively knew that she was the beginning and end of all this tragedy. He had to confirm. He had to see her with his own eyes and hear it directly from her lips. The fortress she had built with her own hands, she now had to tear down with her own hands. Not a shred of sympathy remained in her heart. Only a cold resolve filled her. Late at night, Seo-yeon sat at her desk, reviewing a report on the acquisition and restructuring of Ginseng Group's assets. Just then, the intercom at her entrance rang sharply. The moment she saw the face on the screen, her eyes hardened coldly. It was Kang Taemin. Less than a few hours after his release from the detention center, he stood like a ghost at her doorstep. Kang Taemin, you must still be waiting for me to return. You must be mistakenly thinking I will crawl back to you, begging for forgiveness. I'm sorry, but I am no longer the Han Seo-yeon you knew. I am the destroyer who has returned to bring down your empire. Shall we begin the game? She hesitated for a moment. She could have refused to open the door and called the police. But she didn't. She felt that she had to personally conclude the final chapter of this long revenge drama. This had to be the final confrontation between him and her. She pressed the intercom button on her desk. She slowly walked to the entrance and opened the door. As the door swung open, the stench of alcohol and the foul odor of despair flooded in. Kang Tae-min, stripped of his former grandeur, stood staring at her with a haggard, unshaven face. His eyes were bloodshot, swirling with a complex mix of hatred, pleading, and madness. Secretary Kim, bring all the materials for Jinsung Group's ongoing European renewable energy project to my desk immediately, and convene an emergency response team comprised of our legal team and M&A experts. We will start the meeting in 10 minutes. Oh, it was you. Her voice was low and calm, yet it carried the authority of a general commanding a battlefield. On a new battlefield, in new armor, her counterattack was beginning. His voice was hoarse, like grating metal. The air in Daeyoung Group's newly established Future Strategy Office, on the 45th floor, was as taut as a drawn bowstring. Within a mere 24 hours of Han Seo-yeon's appointment, this organization had transformed into the most secretive and dynamic nerve center within Daeyoung Group. Under Chairman Park Jin-woo's full support, a small team of the group's top elites moved in perfect unison under her command. Their first objective was clear the most certain blow to sever Jinsung Group's lifeline, the European Renewable Energy Project. In the end, it was all you're doing? And this is the proposal currently submitted by Jinsung Group. It's a copy of the final version I personally drafted. Seo-yeon led him inside without a word. Her calm demeanor made Kang Tae-min feel even more miserable. He slumped onto the living room sofa as if entering his own home. Then, spotting a whiskey bottle on the table, he drank directly from it, without a glass. Seo-yeon projected a document filled with complex data and charts onto the large screen. The team members gathered in the conference room held their breath. It felt as though they were peering directly into the enemy's heart. Tell me, why did you do it? What did I do to you, that you could do this to me? What about the 7 years we spent together? This proposal appears perfect on the surface. Technology, capital, local network, it presents conditions that no other competitor can match. Vice President Kang Tae-min is probably preparing to raise a toast by now. His voice erupted in a desperate cry. He still didn't fully grasp the situation. He believed he was the victim. A cold sneer was mixed in her voice. She saw through Kang Tae-min's thoughts like an open book. He would want to succeed in this project to prove his capability and to boast that he had perfectly filled Han Seo-yeon's absence. Seo-yeon sat quietly on the sofa opposite him. She neither pitied nor despised him. She merely observed the completely broken man with emotionless eyes. But every perfect plan invariably has a blind spot. And the blind spot in this plan is myself. 7 years, you say? Her voice was as cold as ice. During those years, what was I to you? A tool for your success, a component to build your empire, or perhaps an old toy you could discard any time a woman with better conditions appeared? Seo-yeon zoomed in on a section of the screen. It was information about a German small to medium enterprise called Licht Tech. Each of her words pierced Kang Tae-min's chest like a dagger. He was speechless. Licht Tech is a company that possesses a special coating technology to maximize the efficiency of solar panels. Jinsung's proposal includes a technology partnership with this company. However, the contract has not yet been finalized. It was an issue I was negotiating until just before my resignation. I made a mistake. Seo-yeon, I must have been crazy back then. Oh, Soo-jin, that woman was nothing. It was just for business. Because of my father. I had no choice. You are the only one I loved. Please forgive me. Okay, a team member cautiously asked. Wouldn't Jinsung have finalized the contract by now? He slid off the sofa and knelt at her feet. He clung to her legs, weeping and pleading like a child. His pride, which had once soared sky high, was now shattered into 1,000 pieces. They would have, but they wouldn't know. A frigid smile touched Seo-yeon's lips. Mr. Schmidt, Licht Tech's CEO, is a very meticulous and principled man. He doesn't just want a business partner. He wants a companion with whom he can share a philosophy on technology. I spent 6 months exchanging dozens of emails with him, building trust. Vice President Kang Tae-min probably just instructed his subordinates to finalize the deal by offering a large sum. I leave it to your imagination how much that offended Mr. Schmidt's pride. Forgiveness. Seo-yeon laughed coldly. You still don't know what you did wrong. Your biggest mistake wasn't betraying me. It was underestimating me. Her words were prophetic. At the same time, Kang Tae-min of Jinsung Group was popping champagne with Oh Soo-jin in his office. She rose from her seat, pulling her hands away from his grasp. Look, Soo-jin, everything's fine even without Han Seo-yeon. In fact, it seems to be going even better. Once the European project is successfully concluded, my father won't doubt my management abilities anymore. You probably thought I would cry and cling, and then after a few days, forget everything and return to you. You probably thought I was nothing without you, a worthless existence outside the fence of Jinsung Group. Didn't you? Kang Tae-min was brimming with confidence. There had been reports that the contract with Lichtech was slightly faltering, but he dismissed it as trivial. He believed there was nothing in the world that money couldn't solve. Kang Tae-min could not answer. Her words had precisely pierced his innermost thoughts. Of course, Tae-min see, you are always highly capable. You're not someone who would falter just because one woman is gone. You didn't fall because of me. You fell because of your arrogance. You yourself, with your own hands, pulled out the strongest pillar that supported you. Oh Soo-jin clung to his arm, whispering in a flirtatious voice. Her eyes saw nothing but the position of mistress of Jinsung Group. She turned on the large screen on the living room wall. The screen showed Jinsung Group's stock prices plummeting, the company being raided, and Kang Tae-min himself standing at the photo line, all flashing by in succession. While they dreamed of a sweet future, Han Seo-yeon was preparing for war. She immediately boarded a plane to Germany, and in a small office in Frankfurt, she sat across from CEO Schmidt. Well, look, that's the result you created. That's the future you chose when you abandoned me. Head Han, no. Now you are Dae-Young Group's head. I didn't expect you to come in person. Kang Tae-min trembled as he watched his own pathetic image on the screen. When pleading failed, his eyes again glistened with hatred. Schmidt's expression showed a mix of surprise and welcome. He had been deeply disappointed by Jinsung's rude and arrogant attitude. Oh, you devil. I won't let you get away with this. When I get out of here, I'll destroy you and everything you have. Dae-Young Group, that old man Park Jin-woo, everyone, CEO Schmidt. I have not come to buy your technology with money. I have come to be a partner who respects your philosophy and will build a future with you. At his threats, Seo-yeon instead offered a faint smile. Seo-yeon presented a blueprint far more innovative and groundbreaking than Jinsung Group's proposal. It was not a simple technology partnership, but a grand plan for Dae-Young Group's European branch and Lichtech to form a joint venture to target the entire European market. The profit-sharing terms were also much more favorable to Lichtech. It seems you still don't grasp reality. You can't do anything now. Your trial has already begun, and your father is confined to a hospital bed. You have no one on your side. You'll just slowly fade away. As the name of a corrupt second-generation chaebol, buried in a corner of the social news, Schmidt's eyes gleamed. This was precisely the vision he had dreamed of. Not his technology being subservient to massive capital, but gaining wings as an equal partner. Her final words were like a death sentence. The last vestiges of madness vanished from Kang Tae-min's eyes, leaving only empty despair. He understood everything. That he couldn't win. That the victor of this game had been determined from the start. Are you seeing this? Head on. The world has been turned upside down. You did it. It's not over yet, Chairman. The most crucial moment has not yet arrived. Why, he mumbled, his voice hoarse. Why didn't you just leave me? You could have just quietly disappeared. The decision did not take long. As soon as Han Seo-yeon returned from Germany, she submitted a revised proposal, including the exclusive contract with Lichtech and the new business plan, just 1 hour before the bid deadline. Indeed. Why didn't I? Seo-yeon said softly, looking out at the dark city. Perhaps. I wanted to see you genuinely regret it, to see you lose everything you had, realize the value of what you discarded, and collapse in despair, just like now, in this very moment. And the day of destiny dawned. The final business operator selection announcement was broadcast live online. All of Jinsung Group's executives gathered in Kang Tae-min's office, their eyes glued to the screen. A smile of certain victory was on everyone's face. Kang Taemin sat casually, legs crossed. She turned back to Kang Taemin. There was no longer anger or hatred in her eyes. Only empty void remained. Her revenge was complete, but there was no joy of victory in her heart. Only a profound sense of futility enveloped her, as if standing in the midst of ruins where everything had burned away. The final business operator selected for the European Renewable Energy Project is Dae-Young Group. Get out, she said coldly. Never appear before my eyes again. Our ties, yours and mine, are completely severed tonight. Suddenly, Kang Taemin's office fell silent as if drenched in water. The smiles vanished from the faces of all the executives, replaced by expressions of shock and disbelief. Kang Taemin sprang to his feet. Kang Taemin staggered to his feet. He looked at Seo-yeon's face one last time. The face of the woman he once loved and who had loved him. But now, there were no familiar traces left on that face. Only unfamiliar coldness. He left her house silently, like a ghost. What nonsense is this? Something's wrong. Check it immediately. The moment the door closed, Seo-yeon's legs gave way, and she sank to the floor. She buried her face in her hands. No tears came, but a pain, as if her heart had been emptied, overwhelmed her. The revenge was complete, but her wounds had not healed one bit. He roared, but the announcement on the screen continued. The reasons for selection were clear. Dae-Young Group had exclusively secured Lichtech's innovative technology and presented a more stable and progressive business model from a long-term perspective by establishing a joint venture with a local company. After Kang Taemin vanished like a ghost, a deep silence descended upon Han Seo-yeon's office tel. The long, arduous war was over, but there was no victor's toast. She sat on the cold wooden floor for a long time. All that remained after the fever of revenge passed was a vast emptiness and a bone-chilling cold. She had destroyed Kang Taemin, but in the process, she realized that a part of herself had also been destroyed. The innocence that believed in love, the passion that dreamed of a future, all had turned to ashes. Then, all the pieces fell into place. Lichtech, Han Seo-yeon. Kang Taemin's mind exploded with fury. He hurled the glass he held against the wall. Champagne and shards of glass scattered everywhere. Time passed. The Jinsung-o Jungkook Gate that had shaken South Korea met its final judgment in the court of law. Kang Taemin was found guilty of numerous charges, including embezzlement, breach of trust, and providing illegal political funds, and was sentenced to a heavy penalty of 12 years in prison. The moment he heard the verdict in court, he stared blankly into space, as if having given up on everything. His father, Chairman Kang Man-cheol, never regained consciousness and met a lonely death in his hospital bed. The colossal empire that had dominated an era thus faded into the annals of history. Han Seo-yeon. How dare you? Assemblyman Oh Jung-gook was also stripped of his parliamentary seat for violating political funding laws and was legally detained. His political career was utterly finished, and countless politicians and officials who had collaborated with him were successively investigated by prosecutors, plunging the political world into a massive vortex. Rumors abounded that Oh Soo-jin had lost everything and fled overseas. The sound of his teeth grinding echoed throughout the office. This was not just a defeat. It was a devastating blow to the group's reputation and his own standing, in addition to hundreds of billions of won in losses. More than anything, the fact that he had been stabbed in the back by the woman he had discarded at the most crucial moment drove him insane. Jinsung Group was ultimately dismantled. Dozens of its affiliates were scattered and sold off, with its most valuable assets, the electronics and bio divisions, absorbed by Dae-Young Group. This was the result of Han Seo-yeon's meticulously designed M&A strategy. Dae-Young Group used Jinsung's downfall as a springboard to instantly leap into the top 5 of the corporate hierarchy, emerging as a new powerhouse. At the same time, Dae-Young Group's future strategy office was filled with quiet cheers. Chairman Park Jin-woo personally came down to the 45th floor and clasped Seo-yeon's hand. His face was filled with admiration and awe. And 1 year later, "You did it! You truly did it! I merely handed you the sword, and you pierced the enemy's heart with a single stroke. It's only the beginning." Chairman, the former Jinsung Group headquarters building, which had once dominated the Seoul skyline, now, at its apex, the blue Dae-Young logo shone instead of Jinsung. The top floor of the building, once Chairman Kang Man-cheol's executive office, Now welcomed a new owner. Han Seo-yeon gazed out the window. Jinsung Group's building on the other side of the river looked unusually forlorn. She knew instinctively that her first act of revenge had succeeded. Kang Tae-min must be writhing in anger and humiliation by now. Han Seo-yeon stood before the massive glass window, looking down at the cityscape she had reshaped. She was no longer the head of the Future Strategy Office. By Chairman Park Jin-woo's unprecedented decision, she had been appointed as Daeyoung Group's new CEO, the youngest female chairman in Korean business history. Yes, Kang Tae-min, rage all you want. Despair all you want. The pain you feel is nothing compared to the betrayal I felt. This is just the beginning. I will take everything you have, one by one, very slowly, until the day you kneel before me and regret everything. Her appearance was quite different from a year ago. The eyes that had once held cold vengeance were now filled with a deep, calm insight that encompassed the entire group. Dressed in a soft ivory suit instead of a black one, she exuded both the image of a ruthless strategist and the dignity of a leader who embraced all. Her eyes blazed with a cold, clear fire of vengeance, brighter than ever. The first battle ended in her absolute victory. And now, she was preparing for the next. The failure of the European renewable energy project left Jinsung Group with more than just financial losses. It was a mark of shame carved into the group's very heart. The business world buzzed daily about Daeyoung Group's spectacular victory and the name Han Seo-yeon behind it. While Jinsung Group's stock prices plummeted, Chairman Kang Man-cheol had to issue a public apology for the first time, and Vice President Kang Tae-min was branded as an incompetent heir who had delivered the worst defeat in the group's history. Chairman, the board meeting materials are ready. Kang Tae-min's office was like a ruin ravaged by a storm of fury. Broken glass shards and torn documents littered the floor. For days and nights, he drank, howling like an irrational beast. His rage was a volatile mixture of hatred for Han Seo-yeon and self-loathing for his own incompetence without her. Secretary Kim quietly approached and reported she was the only person who had come with Han Seo-yeon when she joined Daeyoung. Find her, find out everything that woman Han Seo-yeon is doing, where she is, and fire everyone involved in this project. Get them out of my sight. Understood. I'll be in 5 minutes. His fury was directed at innocent subordinates. Dozens of employees lost their jobs overnight. The group's internal atmosphere froze with fear and distrust. Kang Tae-min created scapegoats to cover his failure, but it was merely a temporary patch over a festering wound. His leadership was shaken to its core. Seo-yeon gazed out the window for a little longer. The fortress she had brought down, and the kingdom she had built anew on its ruins. She possessed everything: wealth, honor, and powerful authority that no one could challenge. Did Kang Tae-min regret abandoning her? Probably, but it no longer mattered to her. At the same time, in her office at Daeyoung Group, Han Seo-yeon held a cold coffee cup, looking down at Jinsung Group's headquarters across the river. Rumors of Kang Tae-min's frantic actions reached her, but her expression remained unfazed. For her, the European project was merely the first blow to bring down a colossal fortress. It had only created a small crack in the wall. The heart of the castle remained intact. Revenge had taught her not the joy of victory, but the transience of life. She realized that hatred only breeds more hatred and can never heal wounds. Over the past year, she had strived to live as a creator, not a destroyer. She had brought back talented individuals who had been discarded by Jinsung, cleaned up the past stained by slush funds, and implemented a transparent and ethical management system. She wanted to make Daeyoung Group not just a large corporation, but a respected company that fulfilled its social responsibilities. To bring down Kang Tae-min, merely cutting off his limbs isn't enough. I must stop his heart. Just then, her eyes caught a small framed photo on her desk. Inside was a picture of Section Chief Kim Sung-chul, whom she had met in the small fishing village of Mukho, smiling brightly with his family. With Seo-yeon's help, he had settled in Canada, where he had started a small accounting firm and was living his second life. He occasionally sent Seo-yeon emails. His emails always contained expressions of gratitude and the words, "Thank you for upholding justice." The heart of Kang Tae-min, as she saw it, was Jinsung Group's dark money, the slush fund that had sustained the Kang family's power for decades. It went beyond mere tax evasion or embezzlement. It was the driving force maintaining a vast network of corruption spanning politics, officialdom, and the legal world. If she could expose that, Jinsung Group would collapse beyond recovery. Seo Yeon smiled faintly as she looked at the picture. Perhaps her revenge had not been entirely empty after all. She had restored a man's tarnished honor and brought corrupt power to justice. In the process, she had lost many things. But at the same time, she had gained new values. The problem was evidence. Jinsung's slush fund was the deepest, darkest secret, accessible only to a select few within the group. It was meticulously managed by Chairman Kang's loyalists, making it impossible for outsiders to even grasp its true nature. But Seo Yeon knew the existence of one man who held the only key to access that impregnable secret. Knock, knock! The sound of knocking and her secretary's voice announced the start of the meeting. Section Chief Kim Sung-chul. Chairman, it's time to go in. She pulled up a man's resume on her monitor. Kim Sung-chul, a legendary figure in Jinsung Group's finance team, a financial expert who had served Jinsung for over 20 years, earning Chairman Kang Man-cheol's absolute trust. However, 2 years ago, he was abruptly fired. The superficial reason was health issues. But Seo Yeon knew the truth. He had been ousted for refusing to comply with Kang Taemin's reckless directive for accounting fraud, a directive he pushed when he took over management. As an upright and principled man, he could not accept Kang Taemin's illegal demands. And the price was brutal. Yes, he must have something. A man unjustly expelled from the company he dedicated his life to wouldn't have just quietly stepped aside. He must have prepared some form of insurance to protect himself. Seo Yeon took one last look at the city skyline and turned with a resolute expression. Her past, like the setting sun, disappeared into the city's shadows. And before her, a new sun was rising. She was no longer an avatar of vengeance. She was Han Seo Yeon, a leader ushering in a new era. Seo Yeon mobilized the Future Strategy Office's intelligence team to track down Section Chief Kim Sung-chul, but he had vanished without a trace, as if evaporated. His phone number was disconnected, and his sole apartment had been sold. No one knew his whereabouts. She opened the office door with a confident stride. The sound of her footsteps echoed powerfully down the long corridor. It was the majestic march of a woman who had overcome wounds and betrayal, forging a new destiny with her own strength. But Seo Yeon did not give up. She meticulously combed through Kim's past records, his hometown, the schools he attended, even information about his favorite fishing spots. And finally, she found a tiny clue, a real estate transaction record indicating that he had purchased a small fishing village home in Mukho, a small port city on the East Coast, a few years ago. She immediately headed to Mukho. After days of persistent inquiries, she found him in front of an old, dilapidated house on a hill overlooking the harbor. Section Chief Kim Sung-chul, whom she met again after 2 years, was a completely different man. The sharp, confident look of a corporate executive was gone, replaced by a shabby, middle-aged man with graying hair, a wrinkled face, and vacant eyes that seemed to have lost all will for the world. He was tending to his fishing gear when the appearance of a strange woman made him look at her with wary eyes. "Who are you? It's been a long time." Section Chief Kim Sung-chul. "I am Han Seo Yeon." At the name Han Seo Yeon, his eyes widened. He hated everything related to Jinsung Group. "I have no business with anyone from Jinsung Group. Go back immediately." He coldly turned his back, but Seo Yeon did not retreat. "I am no longer with Jinsung either. Like you, I was also driven out by them." At her words, Kim Sung-chul's steps faltered. He slowly turned and looked at Seo Yeon again. There was no pretense of sympathy on her face, only the cold fury that only someone who had suffered the same wounds could possess. "Please come inside. It seems we have much to talk about." Kim Sung-chul's house was as humble and old as his appearance. They sat facing each other across a worn-out dining table. Seo Yeon calmly recounted how she had been betrayed by Kang Taemin and why she had left Jinsung for Dae-young. When her story ended, Kim Sung-chul let out a long sigh. "I knew it would happen. That young punk Kang Taemin inherited only his father's arrogance and ruthlessness, not his cunning. He ultimately drove away talented individuals like you with his own foolishness." A hint of satisfaction was mixed in his voice, but soon his face darkened again. "So, what do you want from me? Surely, you're not looking for Jinsung's slush fund ledger, are you?" He instantly grasped her intention. Seo Yeon nodded. "I know you have it. Section Chief, you were unjustly expelled from the company you dedicated your life to. You wouldn't have left without any preparation." Kim Sung-chul gave a bitter laugh. He rose from his seat and opened an old wardrobe in the corner of the room. When he lifted a loose floorboard at the bottom of the wardrobe, a small USB wrapped in layers of plastic appeared. This is my 20 years. And it's also the price of my life. I will go with Dae Young Group. His voice trembled. The USB contained a complete record of Jinsung Group's slush fund activities over the past decade. Bribes given to politicians, payoffs to high-ranking prosecutors, money distributed to buy off media outlets. The flow of dark money that moved Korea was all recorded within. Regarding our expansion into the European renewable energy market, we are currently in the third stage of due diligence. Our competitor, Dae Young Group, is proving more aggressive than anticipated. But based on our analysis of secured local networks and technological superiority, the final contract success rate stands at 87.4%. The moment this is made public, not only will I, but my family too, will not be safe. Chairman Kang Man-cheol is that kind of man. He will pursue anyone who betrays him to the ends of hell and destroy them. Seo-yeon's voice was calm, yet to the executives filling the meeting room, it resonated more powerfully than any confident roar. Her report was lean, devoid of any superfluous words. Emotions were meticulously excluded. Only cold data and logical analysis prevailed. The reason Jinsung Group had soared, ascending 2 ranks in the corporate hierarchy over the past 5 years, was the unseen hand of Han Seo-yeon. She was no mere head of strategy and planning. She was the architect designing Jinsung Group's future, a sharp spear piercing the enemy's flanks. He was afraid. 2 years of reclusive life had eroded all his once sharp courage. Seo-yeon took his hand. When the meeting concluded, the heavy, sunken atmosphere finally began to lift. Executives, one by one, offered polite bows before exiting the room, the last to remain. Vice President Kang Tae-min approached her and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. I and Dae Young Group will guarantee your safety and your family's future. We will send you to an overseas branch. We will spare no effort to help you start a new life where no one can find you. You worked hard today, Seo-yeon. As always, everything is perfect with you by my side. She did not appeal to money or revenge. Instead, she spoke of his tarnished honor. Kang Tae-min, Jinsung Group's sole heir and the epitome of the perfect man every Korean woman dreamed of. And for the past 7 years, Han Seo-yeon's lover. At his tender voice and warm touch, Seo-yeon's sharp gaze softened. She removed her glasses, placing them on the table, and offered a small smile. This is not mere revenge, Section Chief. This is about upholding justice. This is an opportunity to prove to the world that your 20 years were not in vain, that your integrity was not wrong. Overthrow the rotten, giant evil, and reclaim your honor. It's not over yet. We can't let our guard down until the final contract is signed. I know. Our perfectionist head of department. Still, you should rest tonight. You haven't forgotten the party my father is hosting. Have you? Justice. And honor. Those 2 words stirred Kim Sung-chol's dormant heart. He recalled the pride and professional ethics of a financial accountant, which he had long forgotten. He looked directly into Seo-yeon's eyes. In her gaze, unwavering conviction shone. He finally seemed to make up his mind, and with a trembling hand, handed her the USB. At Taemin's words, Seo-yeon paused. She wasn't particularly fond of glamorous socialite parties. The hypocritical atmosphere, where masked people exchanged meaningless pleasantries and weighed each other's worth, simply wasn't her style. Yet, standing by Kang Tae-min's side was another one of her roles, a role she had never once neglected. Please, you must judge them. Of course, I'll be ready.